Hotep. Yeah, this video is explaining how man created God. We've been trained to think that God created us, when in the reality is humans created God. See, they make you think that God existed before you, but God is a creation of man. Yeah, let me explain. Science says about 70,000 years ago was the first sign of human rituals and worship and spiritual practice. And is in South Africa. As you see here, the python. The Africans believed that they didn't. I wouldn't say they believed. They held rituals because the python was sacred to them, and this stone right here reminded them of that. So this is the first evidence of that. And later on, we have the Venus, which science says is about 35 to 40,000 years old, and this Venus was found in Europe. So these are the oldest artifacts of man creating an image and having a ritual with that image, or having some kind of sacredness with it. Yes, these were the first two sacred images of man. And after that, we have the Nile Valley deities, with some say Ptah being the oldest. Ptah was a representative of a Twa, and Twa is one of our oldest human ancestors. They're from South Africa and Central East Africa. So what I'm explaining is how man created God. Man creates an image or an idol, an icon to tell a story. See, this character Ptah, when you see Ptah or Asar or any of the characters, they are not gods that really existed, like in the physical, walked on earth. They are statues and pictures and stories that were created by the ancestors to explain events, to explain principles within human nature, to explain obstacles that we face. So when you see these characters, you see your ancestors. But we have been trained in this society to think that God created us and that we must worship God, when God is only exists in the mind of the believer. When you deal with logistics, some of these people, when you look at some of these books, they say God told them to say this, and they give a personality to a character outside of themselves. But this character can be proven to exist. It's all mythology, but in this generation, mythology is promoted as history. But in the ancient world, you can tell that it was never a literal story when it was created by man to explain events. Yeah, cultures all around the world have idols, deities. Africa itself, the continent, probably has thousands. You got the Kemetic ones, Amen, Ra, Aset, and then you have the Dogons, Amma. You have the South African ones. You got the ones in Benin. And this science of deities spread. The first place it went to was the Middle East, which we call the Middle East today. Those are the Anunnakis, with Enki and Lil and Nana and all of those characters. Those characters never existed either. They're also mythology, which is based off of the Kemetic mythology, but each culture puts a spin on it. So the Sumerian story is interpreted as aliens creating human beings by Zecharia Sitchin. He promoted that, and a lot of people are involved in that today. But when the reality is just people creating mythology to explain a culture, to explain different things that happen throughout nature. And now, after that, you have it coming into Europeans' hands. The Europeans are the ones who really made it literal and really kind of messed up the spirituality of the planet, because They made it seem like all of this stuff was actual history. The Bible, the Quran, is it's not actual history. None of it can be proven outside of those books. It only exists in those books. Yeah, they have people thinking that somebody literally fed um, thousands of people with 2 pieces of fish and five loaves of bread. They have people literally thinking that a man resurrected from the dead. They have people literally thinking that a man walked on water. See, this stuff, those kind of things cannot happen in reality. They defy the laws of science, all science principles. They defy it. And for somebody to really think this stuff, it shows you it has happened to the minds of the people. But it has been promoted so heavy that it's hard for people to understand that those stuff are just allegories, metaphors, and symbolism to explain a principle, to explain an event. So it was put in allegory by our ancestors because the people could comprehend it, and it wasn't promoted as literal. But so some people would say, if God doesn't exist, who created the universe? Well, the oldest we can go back to the word God, which people translate as God today, is Neter, NTR, which translates as nature. Nature is a living entity, and we are all aspects of nature, and we can control our bodies, and we can put things together. So we are, in fact, actually helping with the process of creation. And you have the sun, which does its job. You have water, you have wind. All of these different things do what they do, and we do what we do. And so we are Neter. But creating a God, an image outside of self, that's what kind of is the problem, because a lot of wars have been fought for thousands of years because of people's belief that their God told them to do this, and if another group of people don't accept their God, then they must go to war. So it's a misinterpretation. Yeah, religion is big business. It's big business. If God was gonna come back, if God was real, where was God during the Islamic slave trade, which was before the Christian slave trade? Where was God during the Christian slave trade? And that, if you combine those are like the last 1,000 years of Africans being enslaved. Where was God during the Jewish Holocaust? See, there is no God. We are that expression. We are the ones that have to make things right. Nobody else can come and make things right. So I'm going to end it on that. Hotep.